Welcome to this recorded presentation of the Strengthening Your Lab Report webinar. This topic will be useful for ACAP School of Psychological Science students. You may want to just watch the video straight through or use the pause button to stop and do the activities. The webinar slides are available at this link. We asked psychology lecturers what in particular they thought could be improved in students' lab reports. These goals are the four main things they mentioned. Even though a lab report is a very specific type of document, good basic grammar still plays an important part of the whole. Integrating sources with referencing and editing are also vital. If you feel that your sentences and cohesion are really good, you might want to fast forward through those sections to focus on the others. Okay, let's start with strong sentences. Have a look at the sentences on this slide. They all have the same type of error. Pause the recording to give yourself time to read and think. What do you think? All of these sentences have a problem between the subject and the verb. The subject is the person or thing that does the action. The action is described in the verb. So here, the hypotheses is the subject, although we could say subjects, as there is more than one hypothesis here. Has been tested is the verb group. The problem for this first one is that hypotheses is referring to more than one hypothesis. It is a plural subject. However, has is a verb that should go with a single subject, not a plural subject like this. Here are the sentences with the correct subject-verb agreement. The subjects and verbs match. It can be tricky to work out whether a subject is singular or plural sometimes. Here, even though there is the word participants, the actual subject is the number, which is singular. Data is actually a plural noun, a strange one. You just have to remember that. Et al. Is an abbreviation that is used to mean and others, which means there is more than one author here, and so the verb needs to be report, not reports. Here's a sentence for you to practice on. Are there any subject-verb agreement errors, and how can you fix them? Here you can see that even though we have programs, a plural, the actual subject here is the integration, a singular subject. Also, the government is singular, so we need has rather than have. Okay, here's another common error we all make sometimes. Pause the recording and try to find the mistake. How did you go? Did you see that the second sentence is missing something? Does the sentence say what is missing in the literature? No, it doesn't. We need a subject and also a verb. Here is a fix for this error. We add ear, witness, memory as the subject and change receiving to an active verb, receives. Here are some more examples of sentence fragments and ways to fix them. Pause the recording if you need more time. Look at these sentences. Where is the sentence fragment problem? The second sentence, some of which are lifestyle related, doesn't have a main subject and verb. One solution to this is to make the second sentence into subsidiary information in the first sentence. Another option is to add these problems are to show what the subject and verb are. Now this is a tricky one. Pause the recording and think what might be the problem here. There are actually two sentences here joined only with a comma. That is not grammatically correct. This problem is called a run-on sentence. We can fix it by joining the sentences with a semicolon or by adding a linking word, in this case, and. Pause the recording to have a look at these other examples. And here's an activity to try. Pause again if you want to do this one. One way to fix this one is to create two sentences and link them with the word they, which refers back to Houlihan and Lee in the first sentence. Run-on sentences may need some rewriting to fix up. Now let's look at active and passive voice. Active voice is when we mention the doer of an action. In this case, who is telling the participants? It's the researcher. For passive voice, we don't mention who does the action, usually because it's not important who did it. You can see in this example that we know the participants were told, but we don't know who did the telling. So why is this important? Well, passive voice is sometimes used to show more formality or objectivity. It is needed in your methods section of your lab report. You need to describe the instructions, the testing conditions, and the data acquisition, and all should be done in passive voice. Please check with your teachers as to their preferences about the use of active or passive voice in the remaining sections of your report. This diagram shows how to create a passive sentence. Move the participants to the front of the sentence. Change the verb to passive form, were told. Have a go at changing this sentence from active to passive voice. Pause the recording. And here's the answer. Okay, let's move on to talk about improving logic and flow in your lab report. The way your paragraphs are put together has a big impact on how logical your writing seems. A paragraph is simply a series of sentences that develop one topic. Every paragraph should have a topic sentence, followed by supporting sentences which provide evidence. These sentences should have a clear and logical relation to each other to make the paragraph effective. Sentences should be connected together with effective transition words, also called connectives or connectors, which we'll discuss soon. Each sentence should relate in some way to the central idea of the paragraph. A useful way of bringing out the structure of your assignment is to give your reader language signposts by using connectives. This is similar to using signposts along roads. When the signposts are clear, they're great, but when they aren't there or aren't in the best location, we end up backtracking and taking longer to get to where we want to go. These signposts or connectives are linking words and phrases that highlight something about the information that follows. Without them, the paper will seem to consist of a list of sentences that do not link to each other. The reader is likely to be confused or unclear about your points or conclusions, which reduces the strength of your discussion. Take a look at the example on the slide and look at the different types of signposts that have been used. Pause the recording to do this activity. The answer is A, than. Pause the recording to do this activity. The answer is C, because. Now let's talk about integrating sources effectively. Here is some advice from the psychology lecturers. Start with the ideas and research, not with the authors. Try to find some patterns or similarities in the results of studies. Put studies that have looked at the same variable into a group, then see if you can divide the group into subgroups based on results. It's also okay to discuss results that don't fit into any patterns. There are some different options for grouping the sources and information you find about a topic. In the historical approach, trace the development of ideas on the topic leading up to the current day. For a comparative approach, give the similarities and differences between two major theories. In the problem-solution approach, pose the topic as a problem and set out possible solutions and evaluate each. In the opinion-reason approach, present the current opinions on the topic, then give reasons and evidence to evaluate them. In the methodological approach, concentrate on the procedures different researchers have used to find out why seemingly similar experiments produced dissimilar results. Take a look at this section of a lab report and notice how the sources have been integrated. Pause the recording to give yourself time to read. Now let's look at different ways to use in-text references. If you want to emphasize the information from a source, put the in-text reference at the end of the information. However, if you want to emphasize the author, put them first in the sentence. A third way is to emphasize both the information and author. In this case, you refer to research in general at the beginning and put the authors at the end. Here's an activity for you. Which approach does this sentence take, A, B or C? Yes, it's B. And this one? Yes, it's A. And a last one. Yes, this time the emphasis is on both the information and the authors. Here are a couple of questions about referencing and plagiarism. For question 1, the answer is yes. Even though you're not borrowing any language, you will still need to cite, which is to reference, the source to indicate that you are borrowing ideas. For question 2, the answer is no. This is plagiarizing, not paraphrasing. The original sentence structure also needs to be changed. Check out our paraphrasing webinar and video for help with correct paraphrasing. Okay, last of all, let's talk about revising and editing. Editing can include proofreading, which involves searching for typos, spelling mistakes, missing words and other small errors, and these are errors that we all make. Think about these questions when you edit. Some more tips. Develop the habit of reading your writing as another person might read it. Read your sentences aloud, perhaps. Test your work on other readers. Revise and rewrite. The bad news is that writing is hard work. The good news is that with hard work, you'll become an effective writer. Make drafts a habit. In addition to editing on screen, edit hard copies of your drafts in the cold light of day. Learn about how to avoid common grammatical errors and pay careful attention to comments on your paper to revise for future papers. Here are some further resources to help with your lab reports. Get in touch with us at Learning Support if you have any queries or need specific advice about an assignment you're writing. Good luck with your studies.